Okay, there we are. Hey, cool. Today's video is going to be a talk about what the fuck happened to art. And, or what the hell is art, or what is art? How do you determine what art is? Modern art, since Duchamp's Pissoir, or even before that, the whole idea of artistic performance and skill started gradually to go out of fashion, and in the end we came up with as you know, Duchamp, or worse actually, because I mean Duchamp's urinal was probably, or fountain as it's called, was probably kind of groundbreaking. Not really, because you had ready-mades and stuff like that before that, so it's kind of a debate one could have where it all started. I guess it started with the Impressionists and the Expressionists, especially the Impressionists, who kind of dissolved painting into the basics, the colors and stuff, and that was actually some kind of progress, because they started to use colors for the color's own sake. I will say that Rembrandt and Delacroix and Turner and all these people were Impressionists way before Impressionism was actually invented, but it didn't dissolve the notion of skill totally. It was just a different skill. It was a different way to paint. It was about the paint and the textures and the spatial, the interaction with the music that appears when you start to use your brushes and you leave your personal subjective marks on the painting in the form of brushwork and structures and stuff like that. I like to actually compare it with a piece of driftwood that had been bumping around in the sea for a long time, and all the elements and all the force of nature has shaped this thing into a beautiful piece of wood. And the same thing is with the best paintings in the world. When you get close to them, you start to see the artist in them, and you start to see what painting is really about. It's not about the motif, it's like about the paint anyway. So, but it went from that to basically art dissolving any objective standard. I like to talk about objective standard. My objective standards is Rembrandt, and it's Vermeer. I talk about this in my videos. It is Turner, it is all these great artists that I couldn't possibly in my lifetime probably not even come close to, because I started too late. It's a different time. I don't have that education that they had. Many things. So my project is just to do the best I can and try to evolve as a painter and also as a human being as far as I can within the time existence will grant me. So yeah, but I want to go back to the art thing here. And when I went to art school, there was a debate in Norway. I think there's been a little bit of that debate in other countries too, but not that much. Norway is a very small country where much of the art scene is actually sponsored by the state through the taxes, and artists get quite special treatment by the state, because for some reason that I don't really agree about. But that said, the point is there's a lot of money in it. It is a small country. There's a lot of artists compared to the population, and they are basically fighting over the same resources. And when it actually stop making art that you can actually hang on a wall or put to some use, like it's very hard to live by it. So, but the point is that when you dissolve all these rules, you came out with only, a friend of mine called it idea art. You know, they call it conceptual art. He called it idea art, and it kind of puts it in a better light, because it's no longer the skill, it's no longer the capability of actually doing something that is objectively good. You are just down to subjective babble. And it is almost, to me, it seems like many of the artists are suffering from a combination of the Dunning-Kruger effect and severe narcissism, because many artists who are doing basically nothing, like this thing with the banana on the wall. There was a guy who buys art in Norway who actually paid 300,000 Norwegian kroner. That's like $25,000 for having the right to throw a banana on the floor. Okay, he bought performance art which was actually putting a banana on the floor, and he paid $25,000 for it, or something in that range. Okay, just fucking crazy. It's ridiculous, and it's vanity. It's just vanity, and that's a problem with it. With much of the modern art scene, it is just driven by vanity. The buyers who have a lot of money are buying themselves some credibility as a person, buying this conceptual art who doesn't really have any substance at all. And it leaves people who really are working hard to create real artworks. It leaves them in the shadows, many of them in the shadows, and some are doing fine, but yeah. Anyway, in Norway, when I went to art school, I was a very young, naive. I just came out, I was a welder in a shipyard, and I just, for coincidences, I came to start painting, and I came into an art school, and I wanted to do figurative art like I do today, because I love the classics and I love the skills, and I wanted to learn this, and I was so impressed by it and all that, and I was immediately put in my place as this bad sheep that didn't want to learn anything, and they treated me like I was some of them treated me, some of the teachers treated me like I was having the bionic plague or something like that, and I didn't get much help. And it also led to me, of course, not listening when they actually had something good to say. So, but then again, I am a very stubborn person, so I just kept on painting, and in the end, you see my videos on YouTube, that's where I am now, okay? I'm still evolving, so it will get better. But the thing is, in Norway we had this debate, and one of the people who was in the strongest voices in this debate was the Norwegian artist Odd Nerdrum. I don't know if you maybe heard about him. This is called Odd Nerdrum. He's a great painter, one of the best in my view. I don't like much the colors he's using these days, but I recognize his skill to form paint, and it's just beautiful. So we have our differences when it comes to colors and stuff. I love the colors, bright colors and stuff like that, and he hates colors. So, but anyway, I think this was from 1987, 88. It's called I thought it was Girl with a Doorknob. No, it's not. That's the man. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for here. I'm looking actually for a different painting called Girl with a Doorknob. Let's see if it is in here somewhere. I hope it is here. I'm gonna be. But anyway, he painted some of the most beautiful paintings. Yeah, there it is. This is by far my favorite painting by the Norwegian artist Odd Nadrum. It has everything. It has also the bright colors in that time, and just a girl there, standing there with a doorknob in her hand. And it's so surrealistic and so ironic, and it's just brilliantly done. Anyway, he was one of the strong voices for this figurative movement in Norway, and was actually a big help. So thanks to him, I just want to mention him. When it comes to my objective standard, of course it is Rembrandt and stuff, and what I want to emphasize here is art without any objective standard. If you don't have an objective standard to stretch against, some kind of thing that you can measure yourself or what you do upwards, it is like taking gravity out of the universe. It just dissolves into subatomic particles doing nothing forever in absolute minus, okay? And that is actually what happened to art. You took away all the rules, and you wind up with absolute and total relativism. And it also became, at the same time, it became a playground for a lot of extremely narcissistic people who probably has issues from childhood or something, that can just feed their own egos by doing basically nothing and getting credit for it. And it's just annoying. A friend of mine, actually, I had a party this last weekend, and he had his box with him, and it was so funny because he had this box with him, and he was quite drunk, and he stood up and he started to talk that the people in here in this party had paid 100,000 for this, and we had this they got money from everybody to buy me this artwork, and I just said, what the fuck are you talking about? You started to taunt him, and hey, get to the point, you know, what the hell is this bullshit, you know? And then he pulled out of this box something I think was so brilliant. He just pulled out this one. His name is Ida. That's a friend of mine. And he pulled this one out. This one. And of course it's related to the banana thing, where they had hung this banana on the wall and this guy took it down and ate it. And yeah, you know. And I just thought it was so brilliant. In hindsight, I just started to laugh because he has actually made a piece of art here. And no one, compared to the lack of laws and the absolute relativism that is existing now inside the art scene, this is art. And no one can dispute it. And I just found it so funny that I took a photo, I laid it on the floor in my studio here. And you can see that photo in the beginning of this video. You see a photo of this on the floor with the floor round. And I thought, wow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this one. I took the photo, which is now my artwork. So this is his artwork, Ida's artwork. And I put it on the floor, took a picture of it, and now it's my artwork. And I'm going to take that photo, and I'm going to paint it in a quite big painting. I'm going to frame it beautifully, and I'm just going to call it Portrait of a Real Artwork, just to kind of get the point across. Now, the absurdity that people pay a hell of a lot of money for a banana on a wall just tells me that art is basically, art in the sense of the art today is basically dead. If you can't use any objective standard to debunk something like this as nonsense, then you can't really, then art is dead. Okay, total relativism kills everything, okay? So my personal relationship to the arts, and me and my mother had this discussion for years, because I say to my mother, well, I'm not so interested in art. I am interested in science and the philosophies and all things science, like biology and stuff like that, because if you look back in time to the real artists like Leonardo da Vinci, which was a scientist, if you look at the drawings of Darwin when he was in the island and were drawing and studying nature to create his books about evolution and stuff like that, they could all draw. They could actually. They were artists and scientists. And if there's any coherence in this talk, I'm just ranting here. It is, forget, if you're a painter, you want to learn how to paint, forget about becoming an artist. Art doesn't mean anything anymore. So just forget about it. Try to be the best painter. And remember this, as a human being, being born a human being makes you a scientist. It makes you an artist. Because it is inherent in us. The creativity is a part of what makes us human. And the deeper you can go into yourself through the things you are creating, the deeper you are going into what's called introspection, and the better painter you will probably become, because when you go deeper, you see more. You can actually, it's like me, in the beginning when I was painting, I didn't understand texture and brushwork. So if it was too much brushwork in a painting, I thought it was horrible. I just looked at the surface. I want to be smooth, you know. But today, because I have more introspection, because I understand that art is actually in the small things, it is in all the touches, all the beautiful stuff you are using all your skills to create. That's where you find the real art. That's where you find the real artist. I don't say you shouldn't be political or stuff like that, but you must always focus on the skill. The idea itself can't carry a piece of art to become really, really good. It is only the skill that can make this artwork really, really good. And it is the thing, the skill, the extreme skill, that is what actually will bring the viewer to you. And then they will also start to look at if you have a subject in it or something like that, which I really don't care if you have or not. I just look at the textures and the brushwork and stuff like that. So yeah, you already are an artist. You don't need to try to become an artist. And in an art world, as I said, suffering from a mix between absolute relativism, narcissism, and did I say relativism? Yeah, that was probably, yeah. Stop asking the question, is what I'm doing important? Because there's no answer. Sorry. And nobody can answer that question. There is no one in the world that can determine what is good or bad in art unless you have an objective standard. Okay? And if your objective standard is the urinal by Duchamp, or the fountain as it's called, or some bananas on the wall, no one can determine what is good or bad art. So art is, in a sense, dead. If you have objective standards, like Rembrandt and the classics, you can measure it. You can actually measure your own skill compared to your ideals or your heroes, if you want to use that term. So with this, stay cool and remember to eat your bananas. That is very important because it's a lot of potassium in them and probably also some magnesium. It's very good for you. Don't eat too much, it's too much sugar in them, so it's going to make you fat if you don't burn it. And with this, I'm going to take another sip of my coffee. I hope there was a little bit coherence in this talk. I don't plan the talks when I do them, I just rant. And it's actually more easy when I paint because then I get into a deeper flow. But I hope you, this book is called Artists. And in here, I want to say that. It's a beautiful cover. But if you go through this book, every single artist is doing the same fucking thing. In some variant of the urinal over and 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 over. It is just nauseating and I'm sick of it. Okay? And with this, I hope you get a great Christmas and have a fun New Year's Eve. I see you in the next year with new videos and stuff, and I hope that you can go to my Patreon and support my artwork. You know, you can actually win a small painting every month if you donate like $5, and if you just want to be a supporter, please do one or whatever. If you're very rich, donate a big sum of money so I can only work with what I do and do no more commission work. So with this, I beg you. Okay, here we are. I hope you can share and subscribe and tell me what you think. Feel free to start a debate, and if you want to support my channel, you can do that by going to Patreon and sign up for $1 or $5 or do a one-time donation. It's highly appreciated and it helps me create more videos like this, so stay tuned until next time.